The modern internet is designed to be completely frictionless. You open an app, and a silent, infinite feed immediately begins serving you content, extracting your attention to sell to the highest bidder. But across the world, a very different kind of network is grinding to life. It requires paper, ink, and a physical machine that screams at you before it does anything at all. A growing subculture known as the fax machine club is intentionally logging off the modern web. Instead, they are choosing to communicate using obsolete mid-century hardware. To participate, members willingly take on significant technical hurdles. They pay for expensive ink cartridges, buy boxes of paper, and even install dedicated analog telephone lines just to send a single message. Returning to this heavy, expensive hardware is a calculated rejection of a digital landscape built on mass scale and constant surveillance. It is a deliberate choice to force friction back into the system. The friction starts the moment you dial a number. A fax machine initiates a T30 handshake, an audible exchange of distinct tones where two modems loudly negotiate speed and compression over an analog audio frequency before a single line of text can be transmitted. This animation shows the difference between the two communication architectures. On the left, the internet relies on packet-switched routing, breaking your data into pieces and scattering them across a web of servers where they can be tracked or intercepted. On the right, the fax machine uses a circuit-switched connection. Once that direct circuit is established, it forms a private corridor. The data flows in a continuous stream from sender to receiver. Instead of broadcasting your activity to the entire world, the machine simply whispers to the person on the other end. To test how this isolation affects us, David Hyatt launched the Fax Club experiment. He gathered 100 anonymous participants and sent them exactly one thought-provoking question every Friday via fax. Because the question arrived as a physical object, it demanded a specific kind of focus. You cannot mute a piece of paper sitting on your kitchen counter, and you cannot swipe away a document that exists in the real world. One participant, identified only as number 57, initially joined the experiment as a joke, viewing the fax machine as a symbol of peak corporate inefficiency. Over the course of 52 weeks, however, they found themselves embracing the hardware's absolute refusal to be hurried. Stripped of notifications and endless feeds, the strict mechanical limitations of the device removed the anxiety of modern communication. The slow machine became a deliberate space for unhurried, focused thought. This physical paper trail has a digital counterpart. The club's core philosophy of intentional, isolated connection extends to the very architecture they use to build their modern internet spaces. They rely on the Fediverse. The Fediverse is a decentralized network of independent servers that communicate with each other using a shared code standard called ActivityPub. Much like a network of individual fax machines, these servers can talk directly to one another without a central authority. Looking at the digital blueprint of a single instance, we see complete structural autonomy. A local administrator controls everything, from the web server routing requests to the database storing users, right down to the media storage. There is no corporate hub dictating the rules. Federation is strictly an opt-in relationship. If a neighboring server becomes flooded with spam or toxic behavior, the local administrator can instantly cut ties with that specific node. The damage is contained, and the rest of their community continues completely undisturbed. This creates a level playing field. Under this decentralized architecture, an independent server run by 50 people possesses the exact same structural sovereignty and power as a massive corporate server hosting 50,000. This digital framework perfectly mirrors the analog fax philosophy. It proves that you do not need mass scale or centralized control to build a healthy, self-governing community. Operating these sovereign communication nodes requires members to embrace what they call the economics of intention. It means making a deliberate financial sacrifice to participate. This chart shows the estimated annual operating costs for both methods. Maintaining a physical fax setup, including the machine, an analog line, and supplies, runs about $610 a year. Running a digital Mastodon instance costs slightly more at $720. By fronting the money for their own infrastructure, members guarantee they remain the customer, locking out data brokers entirely. This hardware also benefits from being what the club calls secure by neglect. While modern web traffic is surveilled at an industrial scale, Nobody in 2026 is building dragnet monitoring systems for obsolete analog telephone lines. Operating outside the modern surveillance dragnet affords users a unique freedom. They can select their exact level of exposure from a buffet of connection varieties, ranging from an intimate physical printout to a tightly moderated digital thread. There are no magical properties hidden inside a fax machine. It is ultimately just a dumb plastic box that scans a piece of paper, transmits a signal, and asks absolutely nothing else of the person using it. By refusing to track engagement, optimize an experience, or predict behavior, these decentralized tools prove the most powerful network is often the smallest. They remind us that technology must always remain an extension of human will, rather than a substitute for it.